NFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite and approved by the men of the Square Table. Good call. And now, here's your host,
Dre, a.k.a. Beats by Dre, a.k.a. your HFFL commish. Now, sorry guys, I didn't want to wait forever for these video clips to load. So I figured I'll give you the audio, which is probably what you guys care about the most. Of course, we're going to break down the week's matchups briefly, but as you all know, again, there was a trade made with the Visionary. Don't want to go into too much detail on that since I already kind of vented in that regard. But there was a couple of cliche sayings and notions that were brought up. Number one is I made my team better and don't worry about other players' teams. But at some point, you got to kind of look into that because at some point you're stacking the cards against not only yourself but everybody else. And there was also something brought up yesterday that I think some people should just kind of take into consideration, which sometimes it's just best to die on your sword, bro. I mean, you drafted a player in the second round for a reason. You kind of built your team in accordance to that. So just food for thought. But anyway, it's time to go into the Week 6 matchups. And you know how we do. Welcome to this weekend's episode of The Blitz. We're going to go ahead and get this party started with our first matchup of the week. Ground and Pound versus Christian McCurtain. Christian McCurtain was looking promising with a couple of his matchups, but it was actually Ground and Pound who did the following to his opponent.
Nashville, watch this.
Henry breaking free, 20, 25, off to the races. They may not catch him. They won't catch him. Touchdown, Tennessee. Deion Jones, really from the start when Cousins threw the pick on the first play from scrimmage. Atlanta going to throw it here, and wow, Hayden Hurst is wide open. Down the sideline he goes and in for the score. 35 yards, and that may be the easiest touchdown reception Hayden Hurst ever has.
Dak got the word, the good news on that the last day or so. And there's going to be more. Kenyon Drake over 100 yards and into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona. 69 yards. And the insults and the injuries to this Dallas defense just keep on coming.
Congratulations to Pat scoring the week's high of 153.05 points. The next matchup features Champagne Papi versus Armani Tots. In this matchup, we saw Champagne Papi post up an absolute dud, but you can't really blame him due to a couple of key buys to his squad. And it was Armani Tots who actually did the following to his opponent after all his banter throughout the week.
And then you sit down and you write Dale and Brennan a check for $10,000.
Oh my lord! Calm down!
And I'm going to do it. Yeah, what are you doing? You have to learn there are consequences for your actions. Get down!
Robert! Oh!
You're next, mister. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Something off me. Behaviors will not be tolerated.
An impressive outing from Armani Tots, putting up 141.3. The next matchup was between the Visionary 2020 versus Kareem Pye. Julio Jones decided to make a huge introduction back into the Visionaries lineup en route to helping him score 134.2. Kareem Pye did relatively well, putting up 116.15. But he did trade away his best player in George Kittle to his opponent. We'll see how this plays out for both teams. I don't want to go into too much detail, so I'll just say good job to both you guys. And as far as Kareem Pye, this was his thought after his loss this week.
What do you make of the loss today?
Well, first of all, absolutely no credit to the opposition. He was and still is a terrible player, and I feel like today's result has no bearing on his ability relative to me. But overall, I was just the victim of complete bullshit, really.
The next matchup features Chubby Zeke Mo versus Get Gronked Up. Chubby Zeke Mo got decent performances from Kyler Murray and Stephon Diggs on Monday night, but it wasn't enough to overtake Get Gronked Up, who had a solid garbage time performance by Kirk Cousins. And of course, Travis Kelce does his thing to allow this team to get the win. The next matchup features the main event Mafia versus that little motherfucker with glasses. Now, if you would have told me pregame that a kicker would outscore Aaron Rodgers, the MVP candidate, I would have absolutely slapped you. But that's exactly what happened. That young ho who put up 20 points, as opposed to A-Rod MVP candidate's 5 points. Now, it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire who gave that little motherfucker with glasses just enough of a cushion Monday night to overtake CeeDee Lamb in that main event Mafia. Congratulations to that little motherfucker with glasses for his win. The last and certainly the least matchup was between Beats by Dre and Sicko Mode. Sicko Mode is decimated with injuries and trotted out some R bums, which is fortunate enough for Dre to pull out a victory at 101.95. Even Beats by Dre had just this to say about his performance this week.
It was good. I mean, it was an ugly win, but it's a win.
The Week 8 leaderboard sees a slight shift at the top, with the main event Mafia gaining the top spot with 8 points, and the leading PF at 816.10, which is a slight upgrade over Get Gronked Up. Green Pie now sits fourth. The visionary 2020 is getting healthy, and with his new squad, his 6 points should turn into more within the upcoming weeks. Ground and Pound is no longer sitting in last place. That belongs to Chubby Zeke Mo. But there's a cluster. They're jockeying for the potential 6th spot. Good luck to everybody with this week's matchups. And you already know the motto.
The first thing I ever learned in sports is if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and it's only cheating if you get caught. Now I'm done.
Now I'm done.